linings or borings should never be charged into a cold furnace.
Will shortening of the sintering cycle affect the lining life?
Yes, definitely. I will put it this way that theoretically it will definitely affect. But as I told you, the lining life is a combination effect of so many other factors. So if you change one factor and other factors are good, maybe your lining life remains same. But I will advise you to keep a sintering cycle as described earlier, so that you get a consistency in sintering cycle time and consistency in lining life also.
Melting. The furnace lining should never be cooled below 1000 degrees centigrade for the first 4 days. The surface of the monolithic lining is always hotter than the deeper layers. So, the fritted or sintered zone grows very slowly inward from the hot face. This is a time-temperature reaction and cannot and must not be speeded up. By that time, the sintered lining will be thick enough to withstand the cooling stresses produced by cooling shrinkage without spalling. If melting is not continuous, the furnace should be cooled as fast as possible. This will ensure the formation of more cracks of lesser depth. Slow cooling may result in lesser cracks with more width and depth, which are dangerous to the lining. Keep water circulation on to promote cooling. Again, for the sintering heat as well as the first few heats after the new lining or patching, the charge materials should be as clean as possible. Otherwise, slag formation and chemical erosion will remove the newly sintered skin as soon as it is formed and give a very vulnerable lining with short life. Composition of the sintering heat should be low in carbon, 2.5%, and high in silicon, say 2%. The carbon can be increased after raising the temperature to tapping temperature.
Can you give us some tips on improving melting performance?
See, first let us understand how the melting performs in induction furnace. Normally everyone says that the metal melt because of eddy current or induction, but there are some other factors also which heats the scrap. There are two more reasons. First, as I told you, it is eddy current or induction principle, and this is available from the beginning to the end of the melt. Then second is resistance heating. It is called the I square R losses. If you see the scrap touching to each other has a spark in between, that means there is a resistance for path to flow, and this resistance creates the heat inside the scrap. Third reason is the hysteresis losses. The magnetic charge what we put inside the furnace changes the polarity 500 times or 1000 times as per the frequency of our generator, and by changing this polarity the scrap gets heated up, and this is called the hysteresis losses. This is available till the Curie temperature when it becomes red hot or non-magnetic, and the combination of these three is the effect of total melting. And these last two factors are not available after it becomes a red hot. So your efficiency of the melting goes down after about 15-20 minutes time. So you have to be more particular or more fast in operation during first 20 minutes, because the furnace is more hungry, it can absorb more heat. So pump in maximum power during initial melting so that your melting is faster. This is one very important tips for faster melting and reducing your energy consumption. Then second point I will elaborate that you must run the furnace at full power all the time. There should not be any limit appearing on the furnace like voltage limit, TOT limit and what are the other limits. That should not appear on the furnace and reduce the power. The combination of scrap should be like this, that it draws always maximum or full power during melting. So melt fast, tap fast. This is the principle of medium frequency furnace. If you achieve this, if you follow this, definitely you get a better melt rate and better unit consumption for your melting. Then I have seen most of the people not removing slag in time. If you remove the slag as soon as metal is melted, when it comes to the top level, you should remove slag as early as possible. Because if you superheat the metal and then remove the slag, you are wasting the energy to heat this slag, and further at higher temperature of slag, the lining erosion is more. So you have to keep it in mind that higher the temperature of slag, there is more erosion. So remove the slag at a lower temperature as far as possible. Maybe small quantity remains, it is okay, but maximum quantity should be removed at the lower temperature. This is one of the important factor for enhancing the lining life or for better melting practice.
This completes installation of the new lining and making the first few heats in the newly lined furnace. In the next section, we shall say what precautions should be observed during the day-to-day running of the furnace in order to get the maximum life from the refractory lining. Precautions to be taken when operating an induction melting furnace. If proper precautions are taken during operation of an induction furnace, you can prevent the lining from premature failure and accidents and obtain a long lining life. Lining life depends as much on lining material quality as on care in installation and on correct day-to-day melting practice. For instance, continuous melting round the clock gives longer lining life than a 2-shift or 1-shift operation. In the next few minutes, you will see how type of charging practice, composition of melt, operating temperature, bath levels, shutdowns, mechanical and thermal abuse affect lining life, and what you can do to obtain a satisfactory lining life. During cold start, heat up the furnace slowly to allow the vertical cracks to close again. This first melting cycle should be about 20% longer than the normal melting cycle. Horizontal cracks are a result of poor compaction of the lining or excessive furnace vibration. They will not close on heating. To avoid horizontal cracks, ensure good maintenance and eliminate vibration of furnace platform during operation. Maintain a high heel in the mains frequency furnace so that full power can be drawn. Higher heel gives a longer lining life. Aim for the fastest possible throughput with minimum stirring and no intermittent superheating. Avoid holding the molten metal at high temperature. A furnace should never wait for molds. Make sure that the molds and ladles are ready before the melt is ready. Slagging practice. Remove slag before superheating using deslagging compounds. Higher compactions of the lining results in longer lining life. If melting of different compositions, such as white iron and cast iron, are needed to be done in the same lining campaign, start with the higher melting point metal first and end with the lower melting point metal. When placing starter blocks after a weekly shutdown, place them gently in the furnace. Do not drop them and make sure that they are clear of the side walls of the furnace. That is, they should not be placed eccentrically.
Can you guide us about the use of cast iron borings in the furnace?
Yeah, there are so many foundries, those who are using to the extent of 70-80% of cast iron boring. Normally those who make cylinder liners and machine them, they have their own generated cast iron swarf for boring, which they would like to definitely melt in their own furnace rather than selling it. So this is being used regularly. Only advice for melting is that when you use large extent of boring, you should have small quantity of heel metal in the furnace, which helps in coupling the power in a better way and drawing maximum power or full power right from beginning. Charge some quantity of cast iron boring, put some heavy scrap, whatever 20%, 30% you are using, put it gradually above each layer of cast iron swap, again put a cast iron boring, again put a scrap. Like that, if you put total furnace full and melt it continuously, there is no chance that metal will get superheated at the bottom, and continuous poking is to be done for better melting. If you don't poke it in between, there are chances that the metal gets superheated and chances of metal run out from the bottom is there. So be cautious, and use of cast iron boring will definitely increase your unit consumption to the extent of 10 to 15%. But if you are getting advantage on saving of raw material price, you should not worry about this 10 to 15%, and people are using comfortably 70-80% of cast iron boring with nominal increase in the unit consumption.
Do you advise patching of the lining of the induction furnace? If yes, what is the correct procedure?
Yeah, there are some people, those who are doing patching regularly and enhancing their life. By doing this way, they can increase their liquid metal output on the same lining. But there are some precautions or ways to be followed for doing the patching. First thing is that at the end of the day, when you are stopping the furnace cleaned very properly. There should not be any slag inside the furnace. And when it cools down, next day whatever extra material is there should be chipped off. And wherever there is erosion or cracks, it should be chipped off properly, and there should be some anchoring provided for the ramming mass or patching material what we put on that. So because of this anchoring, the material will get stick to the lining material, and it is to be dried with some firewood, and next day the furnace is ready for further melting. So if you patch this way, another 1 week you can enhance the lining life, and you can look at the dimension of the diameter. If there is more erosion, you can decide whether to patch it or to break the lining. If there is more erosion, I will advise you not to patch it. But if there is a local erosion at some places, you can definitely patch it and use it for further use. And the material, there is a special material available for this patching procedure that should be purchased, and then it should be used for better life.
Scraping sidewalls just before tapping. Lining wear takes place at high temperatures, so avoid holding the furnace at high temperatures. Often, the molds may not be ready to receive the metal. In such case, delay superheating of the metal until the molds are ready. It is far better to get the molds ready before the metal is ready. In medium frequency furnace, if the molds are not ready, the furnace can be restarted after a brief shutdown with reduced water flow to get the metal at the required time. All linings wear out in due course of usage. However, one should try to obtain uniform wear. A good lining at the end of a campaign should appear almost glassy, with large embedded grains on 1/3 thickness nearest the metal. The middle 1/3 firmly sintered but granular, and the last 1/3 nearest the coil should be powdery and loose and crumbly. Overall thickness at the end of the campaign should not be less than 40% of the original. When to shut down the furnace for relining? When in the beginning you are inexperienced in operating an induction furnace, you should play on the safer side. it is far better to have a few less heats on a lining than risk a breakout through a cracked lining and coil damage or an accident. The following guidelines will help you in gaining experience with minimum damage. When to shut down the furnace. Regularly inspect the lining for uneven wear on the lining. Initially, till you gain confidence, you may empty the furnace completely and inspect the lining every weekend. After the weekend shutdown, examine the lining for cracks. Vertical cracks seal up. Horizontal cracks are more likely to be dangerous. Check the depth of horizontal cracks by a feeler gauge or thin wire. If too deep, shut down the furnace and inspect the lining during dismantling to see how the deep crack was. This way, you get experience. When the furnace is cold after a weekend shutdown, you can actually measure the inside diameter of the lining and keep a record for reference. In a medium frequency furnace, since the furnace is emptied after each heat, the diameter can be measured using a specially made gauge during the week. Phase imbalance and high current is a normal indication that the lining has ended its useful life, with the thickness reduced to less than 50% of original fitted zone, 2/3 or more deep.
See, it starts from the selection of material. You have to use a right material for your application. For example, if you are using cast iron, if you are melting cast iron, you have to go for silica. If you are melting high alloy steel, you have to go for basic. For manganese steel, you cannot use silica material. So, for your application, you have to decide what is the right quality or right type of ramming mass to be used. This is one factor. Second is quality of ramming mass. If you are using silica ramming mass, it has to have good purity, I will say more than 99% silica. So it should look white in color. We call it as a snow white. If it is yellowish in the color, that means it has some impurities. Another factor is how we mix the boric acid. If the boric acid mixing is improper, that also will affect lining life. Here advice is to have premix ramming mass from the manufacturer. Another point is that while removal of moisture or pre-drying or warming of this ramming mass, some people put a burner below the tray and keep on heating for a long time without moving the ramming mass in the tray. So this melts the boric acid in the tray itself, and effectively you have less boric acid and it will affect the lining life. Next point is compaction. Better is the compaction, better is the lining life. Next point is sintering cycle. Normally shorter sintering cycle will always give you the shorter lining campaign or shorter lining life. Next point is type of scrap being used for the melting. Some people are using very dirty scrap or very rusty scrap, so that will generate more basic slag, and this basic slag will eat away the silica lining material. So factor is that better the scrap, better is the life, bad is the scrap, inferior is the life. Grades what we melt on the furnace. If you are making plain cast iron, the life will be definitely higher. If you are making SG iron, which has a higher melting temperature, the life is lower. If you melt steel, mild steel, if you melt mild steel, the temperature is lower. If you melt alloy steel, which has chrome, nickel and other alloys, and if this is used for, if it is used with silica lining material, the lining life will come down. Next point is pouring temperature. Higher the pouring temperature, more is the erosion of lining life. Holding temperature and time is the most affecting factor on the lining life. If you are higher holding time at a higher temperature, will erode the lining very fast. Then another point is thermal shocks to the furnace. How you stop at the weekend, how you stop during working of the day. If you are 8 hours working, 16 hours working, 24 hours working, definitely if you are working round the clock, you get a better life. At the weekend also, it is explained earlier that you should force air cool it at the end so that you have more number of crack but less in depth, so that will enhance your lining life. And then finally the water cooling effect on the water cooling effect of the ramming mass. If you have water temperature, outlet temperature lower than 60 degree, normally it is advised to have maximum 60 degree, it cannot work more than 60. So lower the temperature of outlet, you have better cooling effect of the lining, and by removal of asbestos, still further better cooling is being achieved. So combination of all these factors decide the lining life. So you will have to find out where you are good, where you are bad. If you are good at all the points and bad at one point, your lining life can be 0.